Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pascal Dennis Music Podcast. I'm here with Pascal Dennis and David Logan. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Today, we wanted to talk about places we love. We will start with the song Send Me a Poem, which is set in the high deserts of North America.
Do we want to just play for context first or talk about it first?
What do you think?
Oh, let's just play a couple.
Yeah, play a little.
Send me a poem or a picture. Send me a lock of your hair. Send me a kerchief, a ribbon you wear, something that says you still care. Send me.
Very nice. So, Pascal, this song is set in the high deserts of North America. Could you tell us something about the story of the song?
North America has this unique ecosystem called the high desert, and it begins in the south in Sonora state of Mexico, a very beautiful state where I've spent a lot of time actually, and it runs all the way up through Arizona and Colorado, Wyoming, into British Columbia and Alberta, and it's an utterly unique and heartbreaking environment. You can see the Three Sisters Range behind me in the high desert of Oregon, which is part of it. And if you can imagine loneliness and enormous distances and canyons after canyon after canyon, and then a jagged peak with snow at the top, and then a mesa or a butte, and imagine the myths and stories of the indigenous people, the Apache, the Comanche, the Shoshone, etc., really rich mythology, and then overlay the canciones of Mexico, that achingly beautiful romantic tradition, and the cowboy ballads, Streets of Laredo or El Paso or Romance in Durango, and that romanticism and sense of isolation and loneliness. And then on top of that, just the sights and the smells, the sensory experience. So imagine sagebrush and the smell of ponderosa pine. And it's extremely quiet. And it's a place that I love very much. Again, I defer to David and our fantastic players. And I'll pass the baton to David to describe.
This is, again, Julio, his fine work playing the basses and guitars, and usually I manage things. Actually, a lot of times I'll do bass, but he's a really good bass player. So yeah, usually I manage things like drums, but a friend of his plays accordion. So we thought we would bring in a live accordion player, which, and for me, I think the decision on that is, I think that the accordion for many people, let's say in the Western part of the world, would be the quintessential instrument to represent poetry. I'm just going with that. It's not the acoustic guitar. It's the frickin' accordion. I mean, come on. Imagine Paris, France, sitting in a cafe with a cigarette and a coffee, and you hear the sounds of the accordions. Ditto in Italy, right? That's, so I and especially living in Europe now and having access, because in Italy, it's very easy to find really good accordion players with quality instruments. So yeah, I think for me, that was the decision, one of the main decisions about, instrumentation on this. You set up a track, both literally and figuratively, and then you let the players do what they do, and you don't interfere. So, for example, these beautiful accordion melodies. I didn't write those. Those were not my ideas. And this is, again, very much in line with let the players do what they do. Don't interfere. Don't try to boss them around. Let them be, because they're going to come up with great stuff. And look, everybody on this project that's involved in the band, I've had extensive conversations, and extensive listening sessions, and they're all using my template, by the way. So I made this template that I've been using for the last, basically on and off for 25 years, including the mastering presets. And so everybody's working with my preset. And so it makes it a lot easier for all of them. Once the players need to play, they know exactly where they have to put everything. And that's really important. So, and very often I'll do, examples for them, where I'll say, all right, well, look here in this song, this is what I did here. And can you just do that? And we talked about this, in in Levi, one of your fantastic clips about writer's block. That was a great one, by the way.
Thanks so much.
Wow, really nice. But this idea that, you learn the rule so that you can break it, but you don't just break rules. You don't disregard rules. And then this idea leads to a formula. And so I have very specific formulae that I've been doing, for 30 years in my career, sort of 25 as serious record production and recording, but as a composer for 30 years. And, it's not rocket science. Pascal gives me far too much credit. He gives me way more than I deserve. Oh, stop it. Stop it. So that again, like, just always let the players be, when something does not work. And this is true of Pascal. He'll tell you, like, when I critique his songs, if something does not work, I'm the first one to say it. And it's the same with working with the band. When something does not work, that's when I say, I think this line is interfering with, and I always provide actionable feedback. Like, the sharp 9 is very creative on the dominant, but it's too much tension and the song it's not that kind of a song. So things like that, because again, like, you let the players do what they do, but if they get out of line, I bring the stick over and threaten them with a walloping. No, I'm joking. But
It's that wonderful metaphor of the river. You define the banks of the river,
right,
the direction you're going, and let them go. If they get a bit too far left, a bit too far right, you do what David just said.
Yeah.
What impresses me, David, and maybe you could comment on this, how you get this out of our band. Julio is not a Mexican or familiar with the Tex-Mex ballads and the canciones. How does he do it? So that accordion, the guitars, it sounds like a guitarrón, the beautiful Mexican is. How does he do it?
I'm going to take all the credit for this. All the people in the band are former students of mine, and most of them, if not all, took my class, master's level 2 of game audio. And the entire assignment and the entire course is literally built around how do you make music in different genres and different styles without being disrespectful to the culture, right? Because it's cultural appropriation. Most people like to share their music with other people. So I don't think there's anything wrong with taking from other cultures, as long as you respect the culture and you're clearly not like making fun of the culture, right? So it's not like we're, running around with mariachi or maracas and like in the background. Like, that's not what we're doing, right? And that would be like really disrespectful and racist. I mean, we're laughing about it because, especially for Pascal and I, we're from Toronto, where literally, like, nobody cares what your race or your religion is, just like live and let live. So, and that's how I approach that class. Like, always respect the culture that you're taking from, always. And as long as you show that respect, then then you're free to take from it. Because otherwise, how does music grow? It can't grow unless we take from other cultures. The Viennese took everything from the Italians. So what? We're going to get mad about that? Like they couldn't make an original sound to save their lives. And then they got a hold of the great Italian masters, and they're like, "Ah, we can improve this." And I can tease and make fun of Germans because my mother's German, so I'm allowed to do that accent, and I get a pass for that. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Obviously, to a certain part, like I do definitely, I teach that class, and we take apart. And actually, one of my tracks that I talk about is Mexican. In fact, now living in Los Angeles, I lived for 6 years in Hollywood, California. And for one of those years, I actually dated a girl from Mexico. And so I was in Ilos, which is what they call East Los Angeles. And I was exposed. I heard all the music, the legit stuff, like not like live or anything, but like from the CDs playing and I've been to Mexico, like a couple times in Mexico, and you can catch some of that stuff live, So I think that for me, that part of the world, I mean, I lived there. I lived it, man, because you have to understand, LA County is still considered like, Baja Mexico by the Mexicans. They don't accept that it belongs to America still. They're like, it's ours, damn it. So, yeah, I think that, so for me, like I've always, loved the culture, loved the people, the food. My God.
Well, I'm the same. I was lucky enough. Yeah, my day job has been traveling engineer all these years, and Mexico has been a frequent place. So for me, I have good friends in Hermosillo and Saltillo, Chihuahua, Puebla. I got to break bread with my Mexican friends.
Wow, really good.
I learned the right way. I was corrected many times,
and you got it.
Yeah, and so we would break bread together. We would go out, and there would always be music, and the accordions, the trumpets, the ringing guitars, the guitarrones, the big guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And to your point of openness and music being communication between cultures, a very popular form in Mexico is banda, which I understand is based on the the big bands of brass bands of Europe and Germany. Yeah.
Specifically Germany. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
And so all those instruments, they all come from Germany. There's a huge influx of Germans that went to Texas, in fact.
Yeah.
And so the idea of like the German polka sort of became a Texas two-step. Like if you want to really filter it down and distill it and then come up with a fine-tuned product that traces its roots back, that's where it came from. And then remember the Viennese, the Germans stole from the Viennese stole from the Italians. So Italy claims all of Mexican music, and damn it, their flag is even the Italian flag with a little thing in the center. So, I'm
all the Texas two steps that we do are really polkas.
German polkas.
They're really German polkas.
I mean, look, I didn't study ethnomusicology, but it is known that the trumpet, the accordion, did, come from the Germans, because there was a massive influx of Germans that went to Texas, and I guess it filtered,
Anyhow, it's a magical place, the high desert. The colors, the scents, the music, the myths, the people, the food. And it's one of the places we love. And album 4, Love is a Drug from Hell, is about love. So that's why we talk about Send Me a Poem. So check it out. And I hope you like it as much as we do.
Yeah.
Now, another song which is about the region with many European cultural influences. We just had a quick chat about that before the podcast started with Pascal. Is the song "Get It While You Can" and "Can It While You Get," which is set in the Alabama Cajun country, and I think the title itself is a slogan of the Gulf shrimpers. Is that right, Pascal?
Yeah, so shrimping is a very difficult life. The shrimpers go out on these small boats into the Gulf, which can have terrible storms, and it's a very uncertain, unstable life, very unsafe. So their saying is get it while you can it while you get, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And another one of the wonderful places I got to travel and make friends in is the Alabama and Louisiana Bayou and Gulf Coast country. And in particular, there are Cajun communities, as Levi said. And the Cajuns are a unique group of people that originated in Nova Scotia in Canada and were displaced 200 years ago after a war between France and England. And they were sent away to what was thought to be a wasteland of marsh and river and mosquitoes and snakes, and they created a wonderful place. So the Cajun country is a rich, wonderful, spicy, musical place, which yet is, which still maintains its heritage and its traditions, but is fully aligned and integrated into mainstream American life. So they're fully engaged. So it's a wonderful story, which really appeals to me because, as we've talked about in earlier podcasts, my people were exiles, they're migrants, displaced by the terrible wars of the 20th century. So that's the trick when you're displaced, as so many people are nowadays from Africa, the Middle East, East Asia, Latin America. How do you integrate and align and become part of the fiber of your new country and yet not forget who you are? So I've very much connected with the Cajuns. I also adore the music and the food, the dances, the humor. And I was very lucky not just to go down there and visit, but to make friends and to break bread with people. And I know it's a very divisive time and people are very angry, but if you can break bread with somebody and have a beer, have a coffee, have Diabolo shrimp, as in the song, I think barriers fall pretty quickly. The song is set in our headquarters, if you will, in Mobile, Alabama, right on the Mobile Bay, which is an extraordinary ecosystem. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, and the difference is like 10 or 12 feet, 3 or 4 meters. And so Felix's Crab Shack, which I call Rebecca's Crab Shack Bar in the song, is built up on stilts. And you can get Diabolo shrimp, which was my favorite dish. And the beer is named for the environment. So you've got floating car ale, you've got insurance adjuster stout, etc. So they're all based on flooding and catastrophe. And every night there's music. There's fantastic Cajun and country music, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. So I highly recommend the Gulf Coast, Alabama, Louisiana, Cajun country. Check out the wonderful Cajun music that's available.
Add something
Please.
onto that. It just like the word Cajun is actually Canadian. It comes from the word Canadian. Cajun. That's literally where Cajun comes. It means Canadian. So that's where it comes from. And also just the French connection, because they were also French. Yep. Louisiana was originally King Louis of France. I forgot which number, but it was he owned that part of America. And then during the Louisiana Purchase, this is when America bought it from France. So that used to be part of France, right? So there is that French connection. And then French Canadians that were, sort of having trouble with the English Canadians were like, let's go down to Louisiana because it's French and everybody speaks French. And I just wanted to add that on. The actual word Cajun means Canadian. So just say, because I find that fascinating.
Etymology is always
it's really it's incredible. Like for me, it's fascinating.
Shack bar. I played a diablo.